Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Put.
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Today's Friday. It is the 15th of July. We've made it halfway through this month. We're halfway through the year. We're just moving right along. Today, we have these particular aspects and signs we're dealing with here. First thing, we see that there has been a transition of moon signs. It has gone from Scorpio, a water sign, to Sagittarius, a fire sign. That took place this morning, 4:14 a.m. Okay, so now we are in a fire sign. This is the astrological sign of Sagittarius, and the tarot card represents Sagittarius. It's the higher self, temperance, all about learning to temper our energies so we could be more effective, to temper our anger, to temper our emotions, to have temperance, because temperance allows us to be able to look at things clearer. Okay? If we're looking at things where we are being pressured by our emotions, we're not thinking clear. We have to get clear. Now we see one foot on the water, one on the land, one on the subconscious, one on the conscious. Have to be in balance. That's what this is all about. This represents our higher self. Okay, the higher self. We all have the holy guardian angel within us, overseeing us. It is another aspect of who we are that is here to assist and to help us, has been here throughout all of life. So as we learn to rely upon that higher aspect of ourselves, we have more effectiveness in life. The aspects we're looking at over the course of this day, we have a moon in a trine with Mercury, the communicator, the messenger, and then we have Mercury or Sagittarius in a trine with Venus. So Sagittarius, which is truthfulness, okay, higher self, it's going to be in a nice positive aspect with both our ability to communicate and our ability to use our imagination. And that's good. Okay, we want to be able to understand the messages, understand how to communicate. We want to understand how our imagination can have an effect on all of the things that are going on. And so that's very important aspects to learn, especially as we're dealing with the idea of fire, creativity, and water, emotions. We want to be able to use our imagination to move us through any emotional situations or overwhelming mental situations that may occur. The moon is 81.7% the way full. We'll be at a full moon next week on Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon, we'll have a nice, good full moon. Jewish calendar today is 9 Tammuz. 9 Tammuz, and the daily thought for today is, as soon as we get to it, you'll know what it is. We'll all know what it is, but it doesn't appear to be. Maybe there's no daily thought for today. Maybe that's it. There we go. Over the budget. Whoever builds a home, the sages say, goes broke over it. Midway, you run past your budget. To complete, you borrow and fall into debt. It's only then that your home is built and your investment pays off. It's the protocol of life. Every success is preceded by despair. But why? Because our hearts and our minds are too small to reach their own fulfillment. But once we hit that point of desperation, we call upon something much deeper, something we never knew we had. We borrow from our innermost hidden powers, and only then can we build a home. So it is with our own homes. So it is with the home we build for the Creator to dwell in this world. Here is only one way to make real changes in this world, by borrowing from our innermost, most hidden powers by changing who we think we are. One of the ideas built within this is in order to go into the innermost, we have to go into the innermost. We have to go inside. And guess what we do when we go inside? That's where we find the hidden powers. Why don't we find these powers? Because we're often not encouraged to go inside. But when we finally go there, the thing we're looking for and need the most is right there. But again, we're not encouraged to go look there, and therefore we don't find the very thing that we are hoping to find in the first place. Kind of one of those catch-22 situations, but hopefully we'll get it. Hopefully we will. And finally, looking at the space weather for today, the energy hitting us from the cosmos that is above us, around us, solar wind 619.0 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index currently quiet at a 3. The large opening on the top of the sun has moved off now to the right-hand side of it. Still there, pretty good size opening. M-class flare possibilities at 1%. X-class is also at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity seems to be subsiding slightly. It's going to 20 to 15 in the mid-latitudes. Upper latitudes from 30 down to 25. So things are subsiding just a little bit in that area. Remember, the universe breathes in and out, in and out. It's a living, breathing being, just like we are. We're living within this universe that is breathing. The universe is part of a bigger construct that is breathing. Everything is moving. We're part of the process that is taking place. So we want to kind of get with the program and move accordingly as opposed to moving against it. We want to work with life, not against it. All right. All right. UFO news is up next. Let's do it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. Today I have 3 stories for you. Let's get over to the first story here. These are some weird, interesting shapes in the skies you'll be able to see here above Russia. These clouds with these weird circular formations in them. Alien demonic UFO symbol, Russia found, exclamation point, question mark, extreme UFO weather phenomena. Which one is it? That is the question. Here's a cool video that discusses a few anomalies, including a star inside of a circle found in Google Earth and some glowing orange clouds. Very interesting. 2 of these clouds do not look natural to me. And wow, look at that. That just went crazy there. Alien demonic symbol. Okay, so let's take a look at this video here. It's a 10-minute video. Matter of fact, I'm just going to leave this video to you to play, and you can figure out. I see right here, okay, right off the bat, folks, I'm going to have to give a little disclaimer. Right off the bat, there is a little notice here that says 3rd phase of the moon, and whenever I say 3rd phase of the moon videos, I always think it's unfortunate, but they have faked stuff in the past, so it's possible that they are faking stuff again now. So I bring that link to you, but I bring it with a disclaimer that I should have known better than putting that link up, because unfortunately there's been far too many shenanigans. So watch the video, make of it what you will. But here's another thought let me throw out there for you before we move on to the next story. Actually, I'll come back to this. Let me make a note for myself here so I remember. Making the note. Okay. Here we go. We got next story here is dealing with Aaron Rodgers. Okay. All right. Sorry, I have to finish making my note there, which is now done, so I can get to that. I don't want to leave anything out of today's show. NFL Aaron Rodgers confesses that he heard a UFO and fighter jets following it. See, heard a UFO, didn't just see one, but he heard one. Here's football great Aaron Rodgers talks about his belief in UFOs and aliens and about his experiences that make him believe this way. It is a fantastic step towards when a celebrity comes forward to talk about their UFO story and share it with the world. It tells the public, hey, he's like me. Tell the truth. There's nothing to be afraid of. All right, anyway. There's a lot of great stuff from Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers during his appearance on HBO's Any Given Wednesday with Bill Simmons. But the part where he says he saw a UFO and heard fighter jets following it is easily the most fascinating part of the 10-minute video. Rodgers first talked about UFO sightings in March, but it's pretty safe to say a lot of people didn't hear it. Fast forward to the 9-minute mark and hear Rodgers tell the story. The first time Rodgers brought up UFOs were You Made It Weird podcast with Pete Holmes. You got a link to the video here. He says, so we go outside. It was a snowy night. It was one of those bright nights. It was overcast, enough light from the moon to see things next to, and we saw something in the sky. He compared what he saw to one of those huge ships from the movie's Independence Day. He goes out of sight. We look at each other. And then 30 seconds had gone out of sight, and then they heard the sound of a fighter jet, just like Top Gun, Rodgers explained. Okay, so this title here, NFL confesses he heard a UFO. No, he didn't hear a UFO. The title is incorrect. It's misleading. He heard a fighter jet. He saw a UFO and heard a fighter jet. So there you go. And finally, policeman sees tall whites in the middle of a field with crop circle formation. Tall whites. This could either be a extraterrestrial race or maybe it's just a team of basketball players. I don't know. There they are right there, out in the field. This is just a picture, of course. Drawing, not a photograph. A shocking claim of policemen made the rounds online. Several tall white aliens reportedly emerged in a newly built crop circle in Wiltshire. The stranger, who chooses not to be named to protect his career, was off duty when strange beings emerged in the middle of a field with crop circle formation. The man noticed an activity from a distance and stopped his car to investigate after having a strange feeling about it. He reportedly approached a trio, which he described as taller than 6 feet with long blonde hair. However, the trio ran away after the officer heard the static sound of electricity. To the witness's surprise, the 3 men ran away faster than any other human beings. The officer considered the event an almost unreal, which apparently happened back in 2009. After the trio had run away, the witness drove straight back to Marlborough in Wiltshire. He later contacted paranormal experts and crop circle investigators Andrew Russell and Colin Andrews. Mr. Russell said that the witness initially thought they were forensic officers in the field as they were dressed in white overall. The unusual figures seemed to be checking the crop. The noise was still around after the trio ran away from the witness. The police officer claimed to experience a pounding headache that he could not shift afterwards. Colin is convinced that the testimony of the police officer. He added he saw no reason why the police officer would make up the story. He believes that there's much more information to say that this event is something in nothing with unusual movement of the beings and the poltergeist experiences. Okay, so there you go. Tall whites in the field. All right, let me jump to this. Well, I'll come back with this thought momentarily. All right, let's jump away. That's our UFO news. Stay tuned. I'll be back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay. Time to demand the truth. Time to demand the truth. So, let me get to this thought that I had momentarily, a few moments ago anyway. The whole idea in the UFOs, it talked about the Google Earth, it talked about how there could be some anomalies in it, talked about the giant object that they saw through Google Earth. Well, the other day, last show, I did a piece about the Pokemon Go. You know about the Pokemon Go. I'm sure you've heard of it by now. I heard about it first on Tuesday. By Wednesday, it had blown up where I had heard about it all across the world. And by today, I've got stories to tell you of nonsense that's already occurred with it. For example, there's a story that is in San Diego of two men who walked off a cliff while playing Pokemon Go. That's right, walked off a cliff. Walked off a cliff. There's other stories of people that are walking into traffic. They're not paying attention. Why would that be? And how does this relate to the story I told you before? It relates to the story because here's this article here. I think I brought this one up the other day. This is an article, Pokemon Go linked to CIA. Okay, this is over at InfoWars. Augmented reality software could turn smartphones into Imperial probe droids. The augmented reality mobile game Pokemon Go, which uses the player's smartphone. Wait a minute, I lost the page. Which uses the smartphone to add Pokemon to real world has ties to the CIA. The developer of Pokemon Go, Niantic, N-I-A-N-T-I-C Incorporated, was founded by a gentleman named John Hanke. Previously received funding from CIA's venture capital firm In-Q-Tel to develop what eventually became known as Google Earth. There it is right there. Okay? So, Google Earth. So, Google Earth has ties to the CIA. Now, you've heard me say in the show, what if Google Earth wasn't about the technology that we've been told it is? What if it isn't about satellites putting imagery out, but what if it's just a bunch of guys behind computer screens in some room that are creating all of this and putting it out there? We could find all sorts of discoveries because people that are working in covert positions could simply place objects anywhere upon this earth, and then people could find it through Google Earth and say, look what's out there. Okay, it's part of the mind control programming. Google Earth, what are people doing? They're going searching for things and then finding them. What is Pokemon Go? Searching for things and finding them. It's a control mechanism. Okay, now I know there's a lot of folks out there. I've mentioned this to a few individuals. I showed them the story, and their idea or their thoughts are, well, that's a nice theory. A nice theory. And then you find out that one of the individuals who said this to me, the reason the topic came up, because I had a feeling that they probably were playing the Pokemon Go game. I asked them, and their response was absolutely they were. So I understood that when they said this was just a theory, that's as far as they're going to ever get to understanding that. Because people don't want to take a look at all the mind control that has happened here in America and throughout the rest of the world. But it happens, and it's continuing to happen. And it's going to continue to happen because we have too many people who are not really exercising their intelligence the way they could. Way too many people. And the ironic thing is many of those people, many of those individuals will claim that they are the sharpest pencil in the box, will claim that they're on top of it. Well, the very thing they claim to be on top of or aware of is right in front of them, tricking them, fooling them. Most people don't have a clue of what's going on, but their egos don't want you to know that. Their egos don't want you to know that. So here we have a situation now where we have CIA involved in presenting information intended to disinform you, because we are in an information war. an information war. When we have information that is usable, that we understand, we make different decisions than information that has been manufactured, created. So now that brings us all to these events that are going on in the world, like this event that happened yesterday in France. It's unfortunate that these events happen. I'd like to look at these events and say, who could have seen that coming? But the answer is those who've been paying attention could have seen this coming. We need to be smarter investigators. Here's an example of investigation of way we could look at things. The media has a narrative. They have a story, an agenda they want to tell. They want to make sure that you are going to follow their storyline. If there is something that is part of the real story that doesn't fit their agenda, doesn't fit their storyline, they're going to leave it out. By paying attention to the stories that the mainstream media tells, and I'm talking about mainstream being Fox, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, the main channels, okay? Don't let Fox try to fool you that they're a cable news network, because they're still a mainstream. Doesn't matter what medium they're being delivered through. Their medium is one of the most popular mediums that people are going to for their news. Therefore, it is part of the mainstream because it is the mainstream of information people are sourcing out. So we have all of these mainstream programs which are telling you these stories about what's going on because they're following an agenda. And if you listen and flip around from station to station to station, you'll see that they're all telling the same story as if somebody handed out the same script to all of these different networks. And when you flip through, you start to ask yourself, why is it that these networks are all telling the same story in the same way as if they're reading from the same script? Eventually, you keep asking yourself that question, the light will go on, and you'll realize why. Because they're all being given a similar script to read from. Remember the piece I did on the Council on Foreign Relations? Took control in 1917. Now we are just shy of 2017, so we're talking about 100 years. During this 100-year time, there hasn't been any reports or stories that have come out that said the Council on Foreign Relations has relinquished control, because they haven't. They are still maintaining control. So as long as you keep buying their stories, they're going to keep doing what they're doing because there's no need for them to do otherwise, because you're going to believe them hook, line, and sinker. So we have these events that go on, these stories. You can tell what's happening by reading between the lines. So here's an example. Yesterday, when this event happened in Paris, or in France, in Nice, France, we were told that the truck went through the crowd, people were run over. The driver of the truck then got out afterwards and started shooting. The driver was shot, was killed. They kept saying they had killed the driver of the vehicle, but one thing they kept leaving out. They didn't describe what the driver looked like or what his potential nationality was. Henceforth, the clue to who it was. Because what is the narrative the media is trying to push? That Islam is a peaceful religion and that Muslims are peaceful people. Despite the fact that there is a concern about 10% of this group, we're still to believe by our media that 100% of the group are good. But intelligence sources such as Interpol are telling us that about 80 to 90% of this group is good, are peaceful. That leaves 10 to 20% that are violent. And so when the media comes on and they tell you a story and they don't tell you who the name is or the race or nationality of the individual involved with it, there's your first clue on what they're covering up. So right off the bat, as soon as it happened, I was telling others, I said, this was a Muslim that did it. How do you know? They haven't said. Said exactly. Because if it was a white person, they would have told you right off the bat. If this was an Asian, they would have told you right off the bat. But because he was Muslim, they're not going to tell you. If it would have been a black gentleman, they wouldn't have told you, because it doesn't fit their narrative. Their narrative, the story they want to tell you. So if it doesn't fit in line with that, they're not going to tell you. Okay? These are the things we need to pay attention to, folks. Not just what they're telling us, but what aren't they telling us? And of the things they're telling us, what of those things are real and what aren't? See, the ironic thing, the sadly ironic, is members of the media somehow think that they are immune from these problems. They somehow think that if these problems come to America, they're not going to affect them because somehow or another, being part of the media, telling this story, that it's going to protect them from all of the damages that could occur. So if there is a rush of these infidels that are coming into America, or these terrorist extremists that come in, these people from the mainstream, what do they think? They're going to stop when they get to them and say, "Excuse me, do you work for the mainstream? Oh, well, let me not bother you now. Thank you for telling the story about us," and then go on somewhere else? No. Infidels is what they're going to go after. And guess who the infidels are? Americans. Americans. People who aren't following the Quran the way that those extremists are following them. And again, if we had a group of Islam that was made up of, let's say, only 1 million members, then 10% is not that large. 100,000. 100,000, that's still quite a number, but it's much smaller. But we're not talking about a group that has 1 million members. We're talking about a group that consists of 1.2 billion. That means that the potential terrorists, the extremists, in the range of 10% of that group is 120 million. If it's only 10%. If we get up into 20%, we're talking 240 million extremists. That's a lot of extremists. We really can't afford to have that kind of ideology in the world. And if you think it's so great, they're all peaceful, invite them to your house. Invite them to your house. Because all these places, all these countries where this is going on, problems are occurring. Because you're bringing people from a country into another country where the values are different. What they believe, their culture, their lifestyle in these Muslim countries is not the same culture and lifestyle as America. It's the opposite. The culture they have there does not believe in the culture that we have here. They believe that we are the problem, and therefore the extremists within their group want to exterminate those members of the problem, those who live in America, because they consider America to be the great Satan. The reason the problem continues to grow is because one of the leaders of their jihad, his name is Barack Hussein Obama, and he is the current man sitting in the White House. Our administration is also filled with Muslim Brotherhood members, so they're not going to necessarily rat themselves out, and those who are paying attention can actually see where the problems are coming from, the administration itself. I think we've got some challenges ahead of us, my friends, and I think these challenges are starting. Now, we should not be afraid. I brought this up to somebody the other day, and they said that I shouldn't be afraid of these things, that I worry too much about these things. And I told them, I said, I'm not worrying about these things. I'm observing what's going on, and by observing them, it lessens my concern about such things because now I am more prepared to deal with the situation should it occur. And if it doesn't occur, that's great. Because, see, I don't want any of these things to happen. I don't want there to be any of this violence in the world. I want there to be peace. However, I'm aware of what is going on and aware that many Americans are getting caught up in this game, as are many people across the country and across the world getting caught up in this nonsense. So unless we police ourselves and get our heads together, we've got a big problem. Now, today is the day when the Black Lives idiots are going to be, Black Lives morons, are going to be out and about today, running around through 37 cities. Okay? Phoenix, Tucson, Little Rock, San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Denver, Atlanta, Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Chicago, Des Moines, New Orleans, Baltimore, Boston, Detroit, Lansing, Ann Arbor, Minneapolis, St. Louis, Carson City, Manhattan, Newark, Durham, Columbus, Cleveland. Okay, these are all locations. I'll keep going. Portland, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Nashville, Memphis, Austin. Okay, so a lot of different locations where there are these potential days of rage scheduled. Now, we're not talking about people that want to go out and, have a picnic. We're not talking about these kind of individuals. We're talking about individuals that want to go out and disrupt. What kind of disruption could occur at one of these Black Lives Matter events? Well, let's see. There was a Black Lives Matter event in Baltimore, and that resulted in a huge riot and looting. There was a Black Lives Matter situation taking place down in St. Louis, and oh, look, there was looting and rioting there. There was a Black Lives Matter event in Dallas last week, and let's see, 5 police officers ended up getting killed. Certainly seems like wherever there's a Black Lives Matter event, there seems to be violence. There seems to be chaos. Why? Because that is what they are about. Do you know that Dubay, the gentleman who was arrested in Baton Rouge, doesn't live in Baton Rouge, was one of those that was bussed on in, was arrested. After his arrest, he got out, and do you know he met with the president, with Obama? The same gentleman who claimed that his accounts were hacked, and hackers claimed that what they found were connections between him, the Obama administration, Loretta Lynch, all discussing ways in which to bring this chaos into America. That same gentleman, after he got arrested, he then went and met with the president. What did they talk about? I don't know. But we have the head terrorist, Obama, out there talking to another terrorist, DeRay, talking about terrorist activities of how they're going to bring America down to its knees by imposing a martial law situation based around some sort of racial divide that they are working to create, because there are still, unfortunately, in 2016, a small percentage of Americans who still buy into the whole nonsense of this racial divide that they are trying to create. See, most Americans are smart enough to know that slavery ended quite some time ago, that there were many mistakes that were made, but we've moved past that. There are many Americans, black Americans, who are smart enough to understand that most of the white people living in this country didn't even have ancestors here in America at the time when their supposed ancestors were enslaved. Most blacks know that they themselves never have been out in a slave situation, and that the story that is being pushed is simply a lie. So that's where we're at, my friends. We need to pay attention. We need to pay attention. We need to pay attention. Because if we don't, some things could go awry. And we are now at that point in time. We've got Black Lives Matter, which is doing a day of rage. We've got that leading into the weekend, going into the conventions. We have a convention where we're going to have a variety of individuals there coming there armed, locked and loaded, ready to go. From bikers to Black Lives Matter to the new Black Panthers, and on and on and on. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. So we're going to switch gears here because I want to jump over to a topic that last time I talked about this was last Friday. There was a few challenges with the show itself in being able to download it and put it out there the way I like to. So I thought I'd take another shot again today of the same topic, but it is one of my favorites, so I don't mind. Topic is the shape of the Earth. The shape of the Earth. We've been conditioned to believe from the time we're a small child that we live on a globe. However, our way of looking at things is determined by what we've been told by science. But then, as we really begin to use our investigative skills and look at the situation with an open mind, we find out that the theories presented forth by Newton were simply theories, unproven. that we have evidence that suggests that the Earth is actually a flat plane with a dome over it. So there's a lot of wonderful researchers who are out and about in the world today that are studying this particular subject. So what I want to do, rather than just focus on one particular individual, I want to go through a variety of them for you in a short period of time here, just so you have a source or a resource that you can go to learn about this particular subject, because it's a fascinating subject. It's a fascinating subject, and there's something about it that is real, something about it that scares individuals when they hear about this. But once you start digging into it, you find that there is a tremendous amount of reality. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is there are those of you who are going to think I'm an idiot for discussing this subject. Thank you very much. I'm just going to have to say that that's a shortcut to thinking, and you're welcome to think whatever you want. I have studied this subject a great deal, and I see that there is something of validity to it. So, doesn't matter if you think I'm an idiot. I don't care. You know what? Sometimes I think I'm an idiot too. So, I think we're all idiots from time to time. But in this particular regards, I do feel that there's validity and merit to this particular subject, which is why I continue to talk about it. Now, if you are somebody who knows the Bible, if you've read through the Bible, then I have some news for you. The Bible itself is a book that describes the earth as being flat with a dome over it. It describes the earth as being motionless, doesn't move. And it just doesn't describe this in one place. It describes it over and over and over again. I have a list of at least 75 biblical verses which describe the earth as being flat, motionless, with a dome over it. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, the Bible doesn't say this. But I'm going to challenge you on that, because I also know that most people that say they read the Bible, well, maybe they read it once in their life, but you haven't read the Bible. You're not familiar with all the things that are in the Bible. Most people aren't. Most people talk a good game about how they are, but they aren't. So what I'd like you to do is go through some of these links here and look up some of these passages. Surprise yourself by actually seeing what's really there. Because here's the next thing. Once you understand that the Bible is filled with descriptions of the earth as being flat, motionless with a dome over it, then you come to the next realization that there's no way possible to believe that the Bible is true and also believe that the earth is a sphere, because there's nowhere in the Bible that it talks about it being a sphere. So if you believe in the Bible and you believe in a sphere, you're in conflict with each other, because those two things don't coincide. The earth is a flat, the Bible is a flat earth book, just like the book of Enoch is a flat earth book. Just like all of the major religions have described, and in their books describe the earth as being flat, motionless with a dome over it. Okay, it's not just something new that's gone on. It's something that has been looked at for a long while. The narrative, the story that's told to the American people and the people of the earth is that, nope, we're on a ball. How do you know? Because you go into a classroom and there's the globe spinning around, spinning around. Book of Genesis, it outlines everything. First it says the earth was void and empty. So there was the earth, but there was nobody on the earth. It was just there. Then the earth became inhabited with beings, with life. Through the process of this, the order of creation, on the first day, God created the light and the dark to separate the day from the night. The second day, God created the firmament, which is the dome over the earth. The second day, and that was meant to separate the waters from above from the waters below. Everything after day number 2 is now under the firmament, under the dome. Day 3, God creates and gathers the earth together, the dry land from the water. Doesn't say God gathered it together, made a ball of it, started spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, spun that around a bigger light which is out there. Doesn't say that. Just gathered the land, dry land in one place and the water in another, moved on. Day 4, here's the tricky one. Day 4 is when the sun was created. But we're told that the Earth revolves around the sun, and the Earth is one of those bodies that came to be moving around the sun. But the Bible says the sun wasn't created to the fourth day. So how is it the Earth came into existence around this sun, according to science, yet according to the Bible, it wasn't created till the fourth day? There's a conflict right there. But many overlook it because they don't want to contradict anything that may be in that book written by men, because it's the Word of God, but it was written by men. Okay? The book is filled with stories of people that were inspired by God, who wrote down their inspirations in whatever way they did. But when the book was finally put together, the physical book of the Bible, it was authored by men. The finger of God didn't reach down and write out the text. Men wrote this out. Men with political agendas. Men that were involved in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Men that were involved in suppressing information. These men who had political agendas, these are the men that put this book together. They obviously left information out. They obviously put it together the way they wanted, because there, again, is an agenda to be fulfilled. And the agenda is not about telling the truth, because if that was the case, we'd be in a different set of circumstances than we are right now. So what I have here, I'm going to go through several of these links. First of all, I've got the link here to this interview I did with Mark Sargent. This is the second interview we've done together. We really get into a great discussion of the Earth, where I present to him this theory. My theory is based on the idea of the non-commodity library. The non-commodity is one of my favorite topics, along with the flat Earth. I found a way to combine the two of them, because the non-commodity library, the text within there, the Apocryphon of John and the various texts describe an immortal realm that has multiple realms with firmaments over them. If a firmament is a dome, then there's multiple dome cities over there. We're told in the same set of writings that the Earth is a counterfeit of all of these realities. Therefore, if all of these are dome cities and the Earth has a dome, and we're told that the firmament is a dome, then one can look and say, well, if this is a dome and we call it the firmament, there's a good chance that those other firmaments, they are also domes. Therefore, we have dome cities outside of the realm of Earth. And then beings ended up coming to Earth, and here we are within this reality. But this reality is more than what we think it is, because it's not a ball. It's a flat plane. Doesn't move, and it's got a dome over it. That's the way that the Bible, that's the way Scripture describes it. So if we go to this interview here, it's a nice, good hour, 10-minute long interview. I want you to check that out. Mark also has a website, marksargent.com, and there's information here. He has a couple of sites. This is one of his sites where it's a paid site to really get some deep information. And then he has another site over here, which is called The Enclosed World. And here's another bit of information and a lot of great links here. This is not a paid site like the other one is. This one is lots of great info. Okay? So lots of great info. Now, let's go back over here. What we have here is the NASA channel. The NASA channel, this is a guy named Matt Boylan. Matt is one of the first people that came out with information about the flat Earth. Matt just says that he used to work with NASA, that he is a graphic artist, actually a photosurrealist painter, which means he takes and makes photographs or paintings that look just like a photograph, so you can't tell the difference. But he was doing this for NASA, and he was working in a department with others who was doing the same thing. And so he worked there for a period of time, got to know a lot of the individuals he was working with, made some good impressions on them, was invited to a party, and he said it was at this party that he was at where he became introduced to the flat Earth concept, because a lot of bigwigs, government officials and bigwigs at NASA, were sitting around having a discussion about the flat Earth. He thought they were pulling his leg, but they kept going and they kept going till he realized they were serious about the topic, didn't know why they were telling him, and then upon returning home, he began to reinvestigate the work that he's been doing and others, and came to discover that all of these images he's been seeing have been paintings done by others like himself. And so he began to dig into it more. So he formed a channel. NASA didn't get their own YouTube, so he took charge of that. The NASA channel, a lot of great stories there from Matt. Definitely one of the gentlemen who was very instrumental in this entire subject being brought back to light. Another one here we have is the Atlantean conspiracy. This is Eric Dubay. Eric is also one of the founders of this movement, and Eric has done an amazing job of putting together videos, information, and really helping to understand this whole story. By the time you get done watching the videos that Eric has available, look, if you still have any questions about it, it's because you're so deeply locked into your other beliefs that you're afraid to open your mind. Open your mind, look at this. Eric's done an amazing job of putting it together. They all have. Mark has, Eric has, Matt has, the variety of researchers out there have. Now, what I have here is a playlist of videos. This is over at firstcontactradio.com. You can see the link to the playlist. And I've got videos and videos and more videos here for you to go through. So I'd like you to go check that out, watch them. Make it a weekend. Make it a flat earth weekend and just go through the videos and just see what's out there. The whole idea is to think for yourself. In order to think for yourself, you need to get information to be able to process so that you can look at things in other ways. Here's another site that is very instrumental, Jeranism. He has also done a lot of great tests out there and made a lot of great discoveries about what's going on with the flat earth. So I would highly suggest that you check out his channel, check out his information. This is a video, a whole research project here. It's called the Great Antarctic Expedition. This is really the crux of what's going on out there. This was the expeditions that were undertaken by Admiral Byrd. He made several trips out there, spent quite amount of time out there, either by himself or with groups. And being out there, they discovered quite a lot of resources. They talked about how they were going to be in Antarctica well into the future because of everything they discovered. There were 7 countries that were out there. There was a tremendous amount of promise about what was going on. And then, one day, after all of this discussion about all the potential, they just suddenly left. And then they put together a treaty that said nobody could go back there anymore. And we can't investigate the treaty, I think it's till 2040. So somebody doesn't want us to go and see what's there. There's a lot of speculation about what happened. But here we get into some great links, great information. And this is just a starting point. Once you start digging into this, it leads to another place, to another place, to another place. And just keep learning, friends. Keep learning. Another site, the Geocentric Nostic. Lots of great information here. What we find is we see a lot more of these flat earth type videos. People are sending up balloons and different ways in which they can get a camera up into the sky to be able to look at the shape of the earth. When you're able to see images of the surface of the earth and you're seeing them without some sort of fisheye lens, you start to realize that the earth actually is a flat plane. And when you start combining all of this information of what you're seeing with your eyes with the information that is coming out from those who are bringing forth the reality of this situation, the more you realize there's something to this that we're not being told. Okay? So lots of great stuff here. You start to find out there are connections between the Masons and between NASA, who's hiding all this stuff. Very fascinating. Very fascinating. Okay, so I want you to check this site out. Another site here, Plane Not Planet. This is from a planetruth.info. Great stuff here. This gentleman does great info. First ever Flat Earth website helping to end 500 years of one massive lie. So if you go through here, surveyors, engineers, pilots, sailors exposed to flat Earth. You know, secrets hidden in plain sight. Okay. Get into Rob Skiba and his description of the Earth according to the Book of Enoch and so on. All right, so again, another great site, tremendous amount of information. You could pick any one of these sites and you could keep yourself occupied for a great deal of time because of the amount of research that's available. Here's another one, Flat Earth Bible Truth in an Unstable World. This is the World's Last Chance. Again, another site with wonderful information. A lot of this information you're going to find is similar from place to place. A lot of it is confirming what others have found. Some of it's new. This site here talks about Captain Cook and an expedition he took to Antarctica in 1773, in which they were unable to get past Antarctica. They wanted to circumnavigate Antarctica, which means they wanted to go around it. So what they did was they sailed down to Antarctica, and then they were just going to sail all around it. But guess what? They couldn't do that because in order to sail around it, they had to find a way around it. And they could find this edge, but they couldn't find a way to go around it. Yeah, it was just a big loop all around the perimeter of our ocean up to that ice wall there. So, great story. Great story there. Waykiwayki, another great site. Great information here. Okay, I want you to check this one out. Here we have another one, the Flat Earth Vlog. The Bible, Genesis and Geology, the Firmament, Third Heaven, and the Structure of Things Biblical, another good one. Here's Testing the Globe. This is Rob Skiba's work. And Rob Skiba has put together a great model of the Earth. This is from the Bible. Where's his Earth model? Here it goes. Enoch. The Book of Enoch describes the Earth, so based upon the description of the Earth, this is the model that was put together of what that looks like, and it looks like this. So basically it would seem as if we are in some sort of giant terrarium. And finally the last one here, another Flat Earth piece here, and no, this is not about Kim Kardashian and Jay-Z. The person of this video obviously made this in order to entice others to go see this, but there's not a thing in there about either one of those. It's about the Flat Earth. Okay, so there you go. Flat Earth, Flat Earth, Flat Earth, and more Flat Earth. So the Apocryphon of John tells us that Yaldabaoth was cast out of the immortal realms, ended up on Earth, wanted to create a way to trap God, and did so by creating the human skin suit, these bodies that we have here. And that spirit would be trapped inside and therefore would be subservient to the whims of Yaldabaoth. However, things didn't work out that way because God's a bit smarter than the beings that came afterwards. And God, Great Spirit, knew what was going on and therefore wasn't fooled by all of this, and in the end was able to animate life with spirit that was able to evolve and understand the situation that humankind was in a terrarium that was controlled by a being claiming to be God. There are a variety of systems of controls in place to keep us from understanding that we are here and that there's anything else out there. And this continues to be the ruse as we go from year to year to year to year. So we're either going to wake up or we're going to continue sleeping. Wake up or continue sleeping. It's really not that much of a difference, much of a choice. It's like when the alarm goes off in the morning, you make your choice. Hit the alarm to snooze a little longer, turn the alarm off, or jump up out of bed. And that's how it is with life. We look at these situations and we can either keep sleeping through them, pretend that they don't exist, or we could deal with them. I'd say that we're in a time of life where we need to look at things outside of the box. I think we need to look at life in some new options than what we've been previously considering, because the options we've been considering have gotten us to this place where we are, where we're on the brink of another war. On the brink of another war. Why? Because we have a man in office in America who is not an American citizen, who doesn't have the same values as Americans. If you have a problem with that, tough. If you have a problem with me saying this because you love Obama, too bad. Too bad. Then pay attention to what's going on. This man is not for America. The moment Americans actually realize this, the moment you'll understand what he's doing, everything will fall in place. To watch the mainstream media and watch them tripping over themselves trying to figure out, we don't understand why Obama won't say Islamic terrorism, because he's one of them. That's why. Of course he's not going to say it, because he's one of them. And the members of his administration are also members of the same terrorist network that he is part of, so therefore they are not going to say anything either. And therein lies the problem, my friends, because we have been infiltrated by those who do not have the values that majority of Americans have, and they've convinced their followers to follow right along, that American values are not worthwhile and we just need to toss them away. And we need to accept this new idea of socialism and communism, and we need to listen to guys like Matt Damon and get rid of all of our guns, even though he makes lots of money making movies where he has guns. He doesn't think that Americans should really have them. Matt Damon, just keep making movies and just stay quiet, okay? Or let's do a debate. Let's actually sit down and have a debate on this particular topic. I'm guessing that you're not going to want to have a debate, but I challenge you to a debate on this particular topic to find out how informed you really are. Because I can tell from the things you're saying you're not very informed. And it would seem as if you are getting a little bit too cozy with the government and their ideas and pushing their ideology. It's called brainwashing, my friends. My friend, it's called brainwashing. You're smarter than that. So don't be stupid and keep saying stupid things. That's not really necessary, and people are smarter than that. People are smarter than that. Okay. Next step in the ascension process, the Pleiadian High Council. Let's listen to what this message is for today.
In High Council of 7 channeled by Daniel Scranton. We are the Pleiadian High Council of 7, and we are pleased to offer you our words of wisdom. Taking your next step forward in the ascension process is going to look a lot like taking a few steps back to many of you. Many of you are experiencing that which would seem as though it were a regression of some kind. Some of you are questioning whether or not you are on the path of ascension at all, and certainly you are wondering whether or not this ascension process is worth all of the pain and suffering. Some of you would not choose this path for yourselves from your human, ego perspective. You would have chosen a much easier lifetime, on a much simpler and more pleasant planet, in a more advanced reality. But now that you are here and you are experiencing it in your physical bodies, many of you want out. You want to get on with it or give up, but standing where you stand often feels like it is too much, like you have asked too much of yourselves. And we say to you that if you are still here, still in your physical bodies, then it has been just the right amount to give you the necessary ingredients for creating the fifth dimensional version of yourself that you want to create. In other words, everything that you're going through is necessary. It is all part of your plan to become the version of yourself that you always knew you would become in this lifetime. Not one single experience that you've had could be considered a waste of time. Everything has contributed to the becoming of your fifth dimensional self, and as you become that version of yourself, you will not be leaving your third dimensional self behind. You will have an integrated version of your third dimensional self. So the third dimensional self, without all of the fragmentation, is a wonderful asset to your fifth dimensional self. You can see all of your lifetimes leading up to this one as the foundation, the solid and stable rock on which you are building a better future. And of course, you will be grateful for that foundation, and you will see it all as having been worth it. You will even recognize those apparent setbacks as having been the most valuable experiences in getting you to where you are going. We are the Pleiadian High Council of 7, and we are very fond of all of you. That is all.
All right, that is a great message. Look, we're all going through a change here. We're going through a change. The only way that we're going to get through this if we understand the things that are happening to us are necessary. Yes, there's some bad things going on, but it's all part of the mix, okay? Remember, all the world's a stage. We are merely players. There's a script that is unfolding. And for those of you who have not been involved in any sort of theatrics, any sorts of productions, when you have a production going on, everybody has their cue of when they're supposed to come on stage, when they're supposed to take part in what they're doing. And everything up to then is leading up to that person entering, whatever the case may be. So here we are, players in this thing called life, players in this great story. But if we're not supposed to come out on stage until Act 3, and we jump out on stage in Act 2, guess what? We disrupt the play. If we're not showing up till Act 4, but we're supposed to be in an Act 3, then we're late. So we need to pay attention to the script that is unfolding. We need to understand when it is our time to enter the show, and up to that point, prepare ourselves as best as we can. Learning our lines, understanding our character, understanding what it is we're about to do. And so we all have to take responsibility, my friends. There's a change upon us, a great change which is taking place. But we all have asked for this change in one way or another. We're all here because we're part of this change. And if we weren't necessary, guess what? We wouldn't be here. So the very fact that you're here right now on Earth is because you're supposed to be here on Earth. Many say, well, I'm here to be raptured off of the planet. Is that really why you're here? Did you come here just to then be rescued off of this planet? Or were you one of those that heard the call and are here to help those down here on the planet during the time of challenge? If that's the case, then forget about somebody coming and pulling you off the planet before your time and before your work is done. If you're here to help people, then buckle in, my friends. Get ready, because we need to help each other. And we need to help each other through the challenges going on here. And then when we get through the challenges, we can move on to the next thing. But to pretend that we're just all simply going to be whisked away from all of these problems without having to deal with them, well, I don't think that that's necessarily the case, because then that's saying that we're not taking responsibility for all of our actions. We need to take responsibility for the problems in the world that have occurred because of the decisions we've made based on the information we had and continue to have. And when the information we have is tainted because of some propaganda or some agenda or some lies that are thrown into it, then we make bad decisions. So we need to take responsibility for what it is we're saying, what we're doing on a whole. We need to understand there is a battle of light and dark going on. And if all of those beings who claim to be of the light suddenly decide to abandon Earth, to abandon the mission, then that means you're going to leave all of the good people stuck with all of those who are doing bad things. You think that's really what Superman would do? You think that would be any superhero would do that? Leave the people behind to get beat up by the bad guys? I don't. I think we need to be courageous, and I think we need to understand that we're here for a reason. And if we feel that we're here because we heard some sort of a call to be here, it's time to step up to the plate. It's time to start assisting in the process of life, because there is a purpose to our life, to our being here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. God doesn't need us to do the things that God can do without us. So if we're here, it's because God feels that there's some value and purpose to our being here. God's given us the opportunity to participate in this process. So we need to make better choices. We need to have better information. We need to stand up and be the heroes that we know we can be to defeat the darkness and the evil that has infiltrated this world. Okay? It's not all that difficult. Not all that difficult. It just takes courage to understand what it is we need to do. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. And another breath. And exhale. Now let's just imagine ourselves floating in space. And we see the darkness all around us. But within this darkness, we also see the light. And we understand that this darkness is simply trying to squash out the light. But as we focus on the light, we realize this is not possible. And that darkness is only the illusion that is placed before us to get us to think that there is no light, no information. So we focus on the light, we focus on the information, we focus on the positivity. And as we do, the darkness dissipates. And all of the activities of the darkness begin to dissipate as well. The mistruths, the lying, the deceptions. And we begin to inject love into the world. And as we do, we realize that the world has gotten chaotic because we have stopped caring and stopped interjecting this love. We've stopped interjecting the light to counteract the darkness. We've just accepted things as if we have no way of dealing with them, as if there's nothing we could do. But we realize that is not the case. We realize that we are ultimately powerful. We are ultimately filled with this divinity that allows us the opportunity to rise above whatever situations we have. And so we go into this world appreciative of the opportunities we have. And we take action by sending light and love and positivity to all of the places of darkness, fear, negativity. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, thank you for the blessings of this day. Thank you for allowing us to see past the illusion of darkness into the light of truth. Thank you for helping us to understand that we have the opportunity to make better choices, and that by seeking out those things which are hidden, we come to discover the great truths about this life, this reality. We thank you for the blessings of your Spirit that emanates through all of us and allows us to be connected to you. Let your subconscious mind now continue on the journey of sending out light, love, positivity, blessings. Let's continue doing that throughout this weekend. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is it for today. That's it for the week. The weekend is upon us. Be careful. Be careful. Today we have this announced Days of Rage. It seems to be something coordinated that they're going to be doing all at the same time. 7 p.m. East Coast, Coordinate your watches. Links available to all of the cities. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe something will. We need to pay attention because all of this is leading up into this Republican convention which is coming up. And we've heard a lot of talk about potential violence going into this event. All the pieces are in place, my friends, for something to go on. Now it's time for us to do our part and inject this reality with love, with light, with positivity to counteract all of the darkness which is taking place. Whatever goes on, remember, we're part of this process. We're here to make a change. So let's just keep doing that. Keep thinking good, my friends. Keep trusting God. Everything will work out. That's it. Have an awesome weekend. I'll talk to you next week. I love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.